All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the stream. How are we all doing tonight? Hopefully, we're doing well. And welcome to another edition of The Mill. I'm Millinosh, of course. This is my good pal over here.
I'm Schneebles,
Schneebles the Weebles.
Nebulous, whatever you want to call
No,
me.
that sounds wrong. Schneebles.
Schneebles the Weebles.
Schneebles the Weebles.
That's right.
Whatever.
Schneeble Weeble. That's where we're at right now.
What? I have no idea.
That's
idea.
fine. It's fine. We'll roll with it. Run with it.
All right. Well, anyways, guys, pretty happy to be here. We have quite a few things to cover tonight. Let's see. What are we went and saw a movie here recently.
We sure did.
Several
movies, but most recently,
yeah,
a particular movie.
Of like it was something to do with war.
It was a crafty.
It was a crafty.
I don't want to do that. I don't want to do this. All right, so we went to see Warcraft the movie, and we had mixed feelings about it. I mean, like not between the two of us, like just as a person, I had mixed feelings about it, and I'm sure Millie can say the same for himself.
Yeah.
Or no, he had one unified opinion about it, and it was overwhelmingly
completely unified. No, actually, quite honestly, there was a part of the movie that was, I was actually surprised with myself because I was trying not to fall asleep. I'll be honest.
I can't believe that.
It was quite interesting though. But it was, and then once I started watching, like I started going, okay, why am I falling asleep during this part? And the reason is, for me, it seemed like they were doing a lot of character building. Like
maybe a little bit too much.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll throw out the obligatory disclaimers right now. We're not going to get into a whole bunch of spoilers, so if you have not seen the movie, you're fine. You can keep listening. There's going to be kind of generic themes we talk about, stuff like that. I don't think we're going to get into anything. And obviously, I mean, it's not like there are a whole bunch of spoilers anyway, because if you went to see the movie, more than likely you are a Warcraft fan in the first place. And if you haven't seen it and you're listening to this, you may just be out of your element. You're out of your element at this point.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing. Like, I'm glad he didn't say what I was thinking, which was, if you haven't seen it, go see it, because I don't know.
Yeah, let's not make the recommendations yet. Let's have our conversation about it, which is not scripted, but we do have some talking points we want to hit on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And then afterwards, you can, as a free thinking, rational human being, you can come to your own conclusions.
Yeah, absolutely.
About the movie itself, based on our recommendations and you having never seen it.
So where do you want to start? Do you want to start maybe by for those people who haven't even seen it, don't know what it's about? Maybe we watch a trailer. You think we should?
I guess we can kick it off with that.
Yeah, okay.
The trailer isn't going to do it a lot of justice, but let's go ahead.
We'll start off there, and we'll see. We'll see what you guys think, at least, of this first.
And we'll try not to talk too much during it.
Yeah, we're gonna watch. That's what we're gonna do right now.
Oh, Universal, that's a great studio. Oh, Legendary, it's just an awesome. I'm sorry. Shh. Hey, keep it down. Let's watch. Mountains, cities, persons, griffins. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm done.
He's done now. All right, so there we go. Gonna have that. And of course, it goes on to say in theaters June, which.
Well, we're in June. So
yeah, we're in June.
Obviously,
clearly,
it's out. People have seen it. We are one of those people.
Yeah, we are.
But basically, I guess there's. I mean, if anyone's been to the internet recently, I don't know if you guys seen the internet recently. Anybody? If you've been to the internet recently, you know that this movie apparently has a very polarizing effect on people. There are either those who are incredibly for this movie just because of reasons, or incredibly against it because of different reasons, more different reasons than the last. And we wanted to try to take it apart and kind of assess why the movie itself is so, just polarizing. I didn't want to use the same word again, but that's it.
It's and here's what's funny. When speaking of polarizing, it's interesting to know that even before the movie really had come out, there was talk about how it was going to do so much better in European and Asian markets versus North America.
And actually, that is seemingly the case for a lot of different high-budget video game releases. For some reason, I'm not sure why. I think that maybe the culture is just more receptive to it, but they usually do much better in foreign markets than they do domestic. And, I mean, as we've found so far, preliminary data, I don't remember the exact figures, but I think it's like, tenfold almost in foreign markets versus the United States for the Warcraft movie and other movies as well.
That's pretty substantial. I mean, considering what are they saying about North America's how's the Warcraft movie done in North America?
I think it was only in like the $35 million gross range for ticket sales and everything.
Which it's really not that much considering Titanic. Clearly, it's not a fair comparison.
Hold on now.
Not a fair comparison. Okay, let's go. The first Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
Because similar. It's similar in style.
It's high fantasy.
It's high fantasy. Yep. I really hate comparing it to the Lord of the Rings because it's completely different.
Yeah, I wouldn't. But
as far as an outsider looking in, it's a decent comparison. As far as type of movie.
Kinda. Only other than the fact that Tolkien had a much larger following than, let's say, the Warcraft movies did. Because let's say you're a video gamer, and we can use just even subscribers to World of Warcraft. At its peak, they only had 12 million subscribers at the highest point ever. And so you got to figure Warcraft 1, Warcraft 2, Beyond the Dark Portal, Warcraft 3, The Frozen Throne, all of those things probably didn't even garner as much as the 12 million subscribers. Well, and maybe they did. I'm not sure specifically, but Tolkien reached a much, much wider audience for decades before they even attempted a movie. And the attempted movie in the 70s, if you guys recall, was a cartoon, which was not well received because no one exactly knew how to do high fantasy back in the day. And they honestly felt that the market wasn't big enough to start releasing movies like this. No one was going to come watch them.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until an ambitious young upstart, Peter Jackson, decided to take on the mantle of this is going to be my entire career. And honestly, everything he's done since then has proven this is his entire career. He built his entire career around making the Lord of the Rings movies, and he made them well.
Yeah. Now, and one of the things that, I don't know, at least for me, one of the things I felt really was a problem more than anything with the movies is just the fact with the Warcraft movie especially was more than anything, it's the fact that you're watching this movie, and me, I love the Warcraft lore. I don't know enough about it, and that was a problem.
It kind of was.
Whereas I had read with some of the other worlds, let's talk about that real quick. With some of the other worlds that are made, like some of the fantasy worlds you think of now that are made, you have like you have the Lord of the Rings, of course, as we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
You have the whole let's see, what else am I thinking of here? You have I guess Game of Thrones now, that he tries to go pretty in depth.
Sure.
With what he's doing
in world building.
In world building, and there's one other one I was thinking of. The Harry Potter, of course. You have a lot of this based on popular books.
I was gonna say we'll get into that in a little bit because that is one of the talking points I've got is that this is a video game. Remember that too. Is that this isn't a book. This isn't a media that is conducive to storytelling. They're getting a whole lot better, by the way. Video games are now starting to become really rich stories embedded in interactive gameplay. But more than anything, they are still all about gameplay. Warcraft, Orcs versus Humans, was entirely a real-time strategy game, and that's what it was based around. The story was secondary to everything else. And so to make a movie based on this game, it's comparing it to, if those of you guys remember back in the 90s, the Super Mario Brothers movie, where Super Mario Brothers, right? What was the story there? I don't know. A couple of mustachioed gentlemen decided they wanted to rescue a girl from a turtle.
Plumbers.
Exactly. And they tried to make a movie on that premise. Yeah. They didn't have a solid plot to go off of. They were relying on just people recognizing the name and going, we're going to the theaters to see this. We're going to check this out because we love Super Mario so much.
Yeah.
And so with like Harry Potter and stuff like that, they had stories already written out. They were able to tweak it for the screen as opposed to creating a completely new story for the films.
That's true. That's true.
But again, we can get into that a little bit later.
Yeah.
At more length. Because I think what we got to do is we got to bring it back up to the top, and we got to say, right off the bat, gut reaction, Warcraft movie, Milanosh, were you impressed or not?
No.
You were not impressed?
No. I came out of the movie going, okay, this was neat, but no, I wasn't impressed.
Fair enough.
I wasn't impressed as a movie. And you know what? It doesn't take, honestly, when it comes to movies, it doesn't take much for me to go, you know what, that was okay. I liked it. I can normally let a lot of things just go by. And the problem was, for me, this movie didn't have a lot of moments where I was like, that brought me out of the movie. I didn't like that. I don't like that. It wasn't that I didn't like things. It was more of I didn't enjoy. Like, it just wasn't like I love
as
this.
A whole.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't that.
You weren't fulfilled.
Yeah.
And so I guess the one thing I wanted to talk about is what would we use as a criteria for judging the movie then? So, okay, you weren't impressed with it, but how would you grade this? Because a lot of people have said this is not a good movie at all.
Yeah, oh, no,
this is a bad movie. A lot of critics, a lot of people have said this is an awful movie, which is kind of weird because you get a talented director, you got a good writing staff, you have an interesting casting choice with all the I don't know if I really love the casting as much as everything else, but It was strange to figure out then how we are going to judge this movie and say, are they right in claiming it a bad movie? And if it is a bad movie, and I think I heard one reviewer say it's the worst movie of the year. And I want to wait until the year is done before we start claiming stuff like that. But worst movies of the year have been notoriously bad. So for this to be just an awful movie, it's got to beat movies like Howard the Duck. It's got to be, which are just, I mean, really all around terrible, terrible pieces of cinema.
Yeah.
This one at least had pretty good CGI. I would say that much.
No, absolutely. I mean, I guess I was impressed with the way that the orcs looked. Like it didn't seem like when you saw the orc characters. Mm-hmm. It wasn't, like you don't look at these guys like you're looking on the screen. I don't immediately think, wow, that's bad CGI.
Well, and admittedly, from the trailers, that was my first gut reaction was, oh no, this is going to be bad because it didn't quite grab me, and it's full 1080p or whatever the theaters are projecting in, and I'm thinking, how are they going to blend this with live action characters? How is this even going to work out? But again, I will say for the CGI, it never took me out of the moment. I never thought, whoa, that was just disgusting CGI. Yeah. They did a pretty good job of separating it so that it never really took you out of the experience, I thought, personally.
Yeah. Now, there were a couple moments where they did kind of close-ups of some of the orcs versus humans, like the fighting scenes, that maybe it's just because I'm used to that kind of stuff not blending well that I was like, okay, I can really see it because I was really looking for it at that point.
Mm-hmm, sure.
But no, I mean the faces, they did a wonderful job rendering the faces. Mm-hmm. I mean you can see here, this looks beautiful.
It's not bad. And I guess I'll take that point though, and I'll back it up just a step behind, and I'll go a little bit grander with the whole scale of things. And do you think then that the movie actually may have been panned by critics because it was expected to be a dud since 2006 when it had all of the production problems? That's when it was initially announced was 2006, and it took them 10 years to get this thing into theaters. They almost released it in 2015, but they had to go up against Star Wars.
Yeah,
and decided, we'll push it off just a little bit.
You don't go up against Star Wars.
Yeah.
We'll
make
not
it an early summer release is what we'll do.
Yeah, that would have been really bad.
And so would the perception then have affected everyone's opinions of the movie? Because everyone already kind of went into it. And video game movies as a whole do not have a good track record. They don't. I already mentioned Super Mario Brothers. That's one of them. Double Dragon, if anyone can remember that movie. Right after Super Mario Brothers, they're like, let's keep hitting this thing. Then you had Mortal Kombat, you had Street Fighter, you had all these movies based on iconic video games that they tried. They tried to fabricate a story from a video game that back in the day was only gameplay mechanics. It wasn't a really coherent story.
Yeah.
Other than Street Fighter, I guess, would have been a whole bunch of people from different races fighting each other for reasons.
Well, it's funny. I'd love to see the data, and maybe we can add this to a blog post on the website, millinosh.com. And we have actually a dedicated page to the mill. So if you're listening,
shameless plug.
Yeah. Well, but what I'm interested in, what I think we could do is maybe we could list some numbers, because actually when you brought that up, what interests me is maybe the difference in sales numbers between like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. Mm-hmm. Because you have the same basis.
It's the same, exactly. It's a fighting game. It's a 2D fighting game.
And then, since we're just talking about video game movies in general here, if the first one didn't perform, the first one of the two that came out didn't perform well, what made the other one think, you know what we need to do?
Another one of these, obviously.
Another one.
Well, and that seemed to be that's always been the studio's MO, is that, hey, if this one went well, let's just make another. Why not? And that's why you ended up with movies like Mortal Kombat Annihilation or Punisher Warzone. Or, and Punisher, of course, isn't a video game movie, but it was just an awful, awful film. Just an awful film.
You know, I'm kind of glad I didn't see that
one. Oh, you're missing out. You should take some time out right now and check that movie out.
I feel compelled.
Highly recommended. Okay, let's get back. Oh boy.
Moving on, I think is what we're hearing here.
Yeesh. All right, so I wanted to kind of get into the movie then, and let's start picking this thing apart.
All right.
And what I wanted to start with is, who was this movie made for? What was the audience? What was the intended audience? What do you think it was? Because if it was your casual summer blockbuster moviegoer, were they really the target audience based on the tone of the film, based on everything that was kind of happening in the film?
No.
I don't think they were. I don't think it was your person who would know nothing about it. I think this seemed to me, at least, it seemed to me to be a piece that came from the heart, from someone who was a gamer. The director, Duncan Jones, Zoe Bowie, if you will. He's a professed gamer and loves World of Warcraft. He loves the whole lore, the mythos, everything like that. And so I feel like this was kind of an homage.
Yeah, and it was a good choice for a director. I mean, you would want somebody who has the passion and really the knowledge behind the lore in the first place. I mean, it would imagine someone directing this who wasn't a part of the video game industry at all. I think it could have maybe been a good thing, but I think it would have been a bad choice.
I was gonna say that's how you end up with movies like Max Payne. That's what happens. Max Payne, by the way, is one of those games that did have a storyline, and a pretty linear storyline that you could follow, and wasn't a bad storyline. And the movie makers were like, well, I just don't think this works for the film, so we'll go ahead and change things up. And we'll just let Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, that's what he calls his business downstairs.
Course.
We'll let him just kind of take the show and see what he could do with it. I don't know. Who knows? And we ended up with the turd of a movie that is Max Payne. I'm sorry for those of you who liked Max Payne.
Oh, but we all love that movie so much. Okay, no, I can't. I can't
Where's
finish
the sequel? Let's have more of those movies, please.
But so back to the point there of who the movie was for. It's a very good question, because it's to me, the movie is not for the person, like you said, who is just casually wanting to go in and have a fun time in a movie. Because quite honestly, there's a lot to keep track of.
It's homework.
There's a lot of
it's
history.
Homework.
Yeah.
You got to sit from the beginning of the movie and start writing down places, names of people.
Yeah.
That again, it's kind of fan service though for the ones who would recognize the names and go, oh, I see what you did there. But for those who don't, for your average moviegoer, they're going, okay, so wait, you got one red-looking orc. Well, he's standing next to another red-looking orc.
And then you have them standing next to another looking orc. What? Yeah. Yeah.
So he's a different person. Okay, so they're different orcs. I thought they were the same.
Yeah.
Or like the people too. No offense to the actors. Again, with the casting, the people all just kind of blended together in my mind. They didn't use super A-list actors, which is fine. They don't have to. But again, it's like no one really stood out as a person. as opposed to other people. Ben Foster did all right as Medivh. I mean,
Yeah.
he's one of the few that I had kind of recognized as basically, secondary roles in movies we've all seen.
Yeah, it's interesting to think though. I think we talked about this actually a little bit earlier. How you had you have the warrior orcs,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have the warrior humans, and then I mean that's pretty much everybody other than
Those are the
other
classes they
than
decided to introduce.
like two characters.
Yep. Yeah,
You
you've
know?
got the warrior orcs, the warrior humans. You've got then some magic,
Yeah,
and then the two
yeah.
different types of magic that they're introducing: the arcane and then the
And
fel.
The fell.
And so you've got then these are like just these are your archetypes. It's just
Yeah.
fighter versus fighter. You don't see anyone pull out a bow and arrow. I'm not sure
No.
if anyone really uses like a dagger.
Well,
It's
now
just
wait, at
kinda
the end-
straight up.
At the end, we do see the boomstick.
The boomstick. Okay.
Yep.
Yep. Nope.
So
They talked about that.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Which was kind of interesting to think of that, like some of these characters, why are they using a boomstick?
Because of heavy plate mail, obviously.
Well, no, okay.
Let's talk about the plate mail real quick, though. Hold on.
Yeah, yeah.
That it looked pretty good, by the way. The props and everything, the visuals looked pretty tight on the movie. I'll give them that.
Yeah, they did a very good job of recreating what felt like the proper World of Warcraft, or I'm sorry, Warcraft world.
Without making it over the top, because they could have easily gone. Millie was renowned, by the way, in vanilla World of Warcraft as the Rainbow Pally, because so many bright colors were incorporated into his outfit.
It's very true.
He had his purples, he had his oranges, he had his blues, his greens, a red.
Pretty much, I would wear anything that I felt made my character better, whether it was cloth, leather. I looked amazing in my robe.
Oh, you rocked it. You rocked it.
Don't
let anyone tell you otherwise.
I was so good.
You made it work.
And people remember that now. That's the sad part.
And so they've toned it down, by the way, for the movie. It's not so bright, but they still kept the theme of the Warcraft universe.
Yeah.
The foot soldiers look like foot soldiers from the game. I mean, it's from all the games. They've kept a pretty consistent tone and visual style throughout the years. And it's been a while, by the way, since they released Warcraft 1 back in 94, I want to say.
Right.
I'll have to look that one up. Fact check me, someone. I'll have to look that
fact
one
check.
up. Someone's got to fact check that, because I don't want to be, just talking out my butt. And so I guess if we're talking, we'll get back to audience, unless I interrupted a point there.
No, I mean, more than anything, it just seemed like, so you can't be casual when you go into this. But then even, like I said, I love World of Warcraft, and I played it pretty much for, 8 of the years of, pretty much 8 years straight. But even so, with that, I don't feel like I had enough knowledge to casually watch it without going, okay, wait, wait, what? And that could be because I knew just enough about the game and the lore behind Warcraft that I was trying my best to put it all together and fit the puzzle pieces together. But it also could be that it would have been worse not knowing anything.
Well, and that's one of the biggest things too. I can only compare this then to like a lay person who hadn't seen a franchise or read any of the books, is that my father actually, when all the Harry Potter movies were coming out, he didn't want to read the books, wasn't interested in doing it, and so all he could judge was the whole franchise by the movies. And he would then come in direct conflict with my mom, who had read all the books, loved the books, and would kind of contradict him. And so he'd be asking some questions like, okay, so this doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me as the casual moviegoer, but for the people who read the books, it made a whole lot more sense. And so they have to balance a fine line there. And I think Harry Potter did an okay job of keeping it pretty much straightforward enough that the casual observer could jump right in and get into the characters and feel the plot and all that without putting off or doing a disservice, I guess, to the fans of the books, because they also gave a lot of nods to, oh, you read that, so what this is.
Yeah, and I think there was definitely a balance problem in the Warcraft movie, where maybe because they had an author who was so passionate about Warcraft that he tried to pack way too much lore in it made it more about a history instead of the present of the movie. Like, actually, it's like, okay, we need to cover all of these things that have happened in the past because they're rich. It's an experience.
Yeah.
And didn't have enough of, let's talk about what's happening right now in the movie.
Sure.
It could be.
I mean, that's fair. Chris Metzen, by the way, one of the creative minds behind Warcraft in general, was the writer for this movie, or credited as the writer for this movie. And so obviously he was doing as best as he could to kind of, I think, set it all up. But it brought into question the fact that, was this story the best first showing of the Warcraft series? Do you have to start at the beginning? Think about the Lord of the Rings movies. Yeah. You knew you were going to have 3. You started at the beginning, the first book. But even the first book didn't cover all of the backstory, all of the history that everybody needed to know to go into the movie. They explained it as they developed the plot, as they developed the characters. And what this movie decided to do was, though, kind of start almost like towards the very beginning of all of the lore that we're concerned about for Azeroth, for the realm.
Yeah.
And they wanted to try to set everything up from the ground up with these warlords of Draenor coming over.
Yeah, I do think if they would have done, it to me it almost feels like if they would have taken a Lord of the Rings or a Back to the Future approach to this of, hey, we definitely can't pack this all into 2 hours, so we're going to make, I mean, it's a gamble, but we're going to make 3 movies all at the same time. We're gonna pump them out, and then you've got a full, rich story.
And then you can take your time developing the story too, because you know that people aren't going to have to wait too long to get more of the story. I mean, that's kind of the Netflix approach to movies, is that Netflix releases shows now all at once. So the people who want to binge, who want to figure it all out right away, they get rewarded for, having the time to do that. For the rest of us plebeians who can't take off work and have to watch shows episodically over time, you're also, each episode should hopefully stand alone on its own 2 feet long enough. And so that's the biggest problem with movies like that, though, is you get the Pirates of the Caribbean, you get the Matrix movies, where the middle films of these movie franchises, of these trilogies, quadrilogies, they don't stand alone as a good movie. They only stand as a good movie in general if you take them as a whole with the trilogy, because they knew they were making more movies.
Yeah.
And so what they tried to do, I'm thinking, is they tried to go Empire Strikes Back and make that interim movie where things are left kind of like, what? But they didn't tell a good story for that one movie to exist on its own without the resolution of the next movie.
Well, now, to their credit, what I did like, which, if you know the lore, this is going to happen anyways. Mm-hmm. But for like we said, basically, the majority of the audience was people who had no clue what was going on ahead of time.
Probably.
To their credit, though, they weren't afraid to take risks with the casting. Now, I'm not going to go into much detail about that, but let me just put it this way. There is a very Game of Thrones type of approach to parts of the story where they're not afraid to take bold moves.
Sure.
And I think what that does is it sets it up to where you now have actual concern for the story. It's not like when you watch, let's say, Spider-Man, you're like, okay, yeah, Spider-Man's in trouble, but how does he get out of it?
He's totally going to die. Look out, there won't be another Spider-Man movie. Not going to happen. Well, actually, with all the reboots, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't decide that one time they'd want to, try to kill off Spider-Man and just go, all right, just kidding, guys. Let's reboot. Let's start over again. Because, I mean, that's the next part, is that people have to feel like the risk is real.
Yes.
They have to feel like there is some sort of peril, or else what's the point of building up this grand, oh my goodness, what's going to happen, and then just go, no, it's okay. Everyone's saved the day. Everyone's safe. Everyone's safe at home.
Well, that's kind of you get that feeling.
Shepherd's pie. I assume everyone, when everything's okay, everyone sits down to a nice meal of shepherd's pie. That's my assumption. I'm sorry if I'm overstepping here.
You at least now, if they make more movies, you will have that feeling of, well, unlike any TV show out right now, where it's like they're clearly not going to do anything with any of these characters, or we know how this story is going to go. We know at the end of the day, it's happily ever after. They've set the stage, at least, to where big things can happen.
And so far, though, I guess maybe to its benefit and its detriment, is that they're following the lore. So people who are following the lore of the whole universe are not going to be surprised. It's not going to be like, what happened?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to happen.
Yep.
It's just they take minor liberties to make sure that it works as a story.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's all right.
So why don't we take a moment here? Let's actually just take a moment, and we're going to watch there was another trailer put out. I believe this is the right one. Let's just see how we feel maybe about this one as compared to the other one. Just got maybe see if there's more, especially for those who haven't seen it or anything. We'll get a little better feel of what the movie's about.
Sure.
Because at this point, some people who haven't seen it don't know. They don't know what's going on.
They don't know.
So let's
shoot. I saw the movie and I don't know what's going on. What do we?
Let's watch together.
Let's watch.
Warcraft.
The movie.
Already in theaters. All right, so I guess after watching that, one thing I want to point out is, like, just watching that trailer, there is, like, they did a fantastic job of making, like, even watching that right now, they did a fantastic job of making me go, I want to watch that action.
Ooh, I want to watch that.
Yeah, I mean...
No, yeah, that looks like...
I've seen the movie.
When you hard cut all of the action scenes into one sweet trailer, it makes you want to... You're basically salivating at that point.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's not the whole movie.
Right. It's kind of like when you watch a trailer or several trailers about another movie where they use every single joke.
Like a comedy. Oh, yeah. The comedy movies do that all the time where to get you into the seat, they want to tell you the best jokes from the movie. And you're like, this is going to be so funny. And then you realize, no, most of it's not funny. They told the best jokes to get your butts in these seats.
So you've already heard... you've seen all the good stuff before the movie even starts.
Yep. But they got your money.
That's true. So at that point,
if it works, you can't fault them for that.
Yeah.
But since we had said at the beginning of this all that you weren't that impressed, and I personally also have mixed feelings about the movie at all, let's talk about the things that worked and the things that didn't work.
All right.
We'll address them in categories is what we'll do.
Okay. All right.
And we'll probably just get sidetracked and address all of them at one time.
Let's do
But we'll start by addressing them in categories.
Categories.
So what we want to talk about first is the characters, the casting, and the actual characters included in the story. And so what I wanted to talk about was I personally felt, and I've stated this before earlier, is that I felt the casting seemed just a little bit off, a little weird. I don't know if I thought that everyone seemed a little bit too young for it all, if everyone just seemed like, if the actors themselves may have been phoning some of the scenes in, I don't know. But I can't speak too much to the orcs because the actors who did that all just got a complete CGI overhaul.
Yeah.
And their performances were fine. They were adequate.
Well, I think it's neat though now with the CGI, you actually have a person behind the CGI, which I guess really the most prolific of that started with Avatar. And of course, now they showed in some of the early footage before the movie was released. I think there was an HBO special thing
like
where
premiere,
where they kind of showed that you at least can get an actor's portrayal coming through,
sure,
which is good.
And honestly, as an actor, you don't have to do much to be an orc. You gotta scowl sometimes. And just be like, it's good enough.
Yeah,
I mean, that'll be acceptable for most of the orcs.
That's true. Mm-hmm. So so you have that which, but yeah, I think one thing, one of the characters actually also is a character in Vikings, the TV
actor
series. Travis something.
Mill.
Travis. Yes,
yep.
That guy.
That guy.
So here's the thing about him. There were several scenes in there where I did think this is right in his wheelhouse because what he just did or what he just said was so close to his character on Vikings.
Right.
It was. It was in that sense. It was either a perfect casting or the worst casting decision ever.
And I'm not sure if I'm buying into it being the perfect casting. Yeah. But I don't think it was the worst casting ever either. No. I think all of the actors, really, all of them did a competent job. I was never pulled out of the movie for a moment going like, oh my, that was bad. It was just kind of like, this feels off to me. Something about this is not right. And I think it might have been, the actual casting itself.
But part of that, to me, kind of have to think is, and maybe we're skipping categories here, but was it a casting issue? Was it actually the actor or the actresses? Or was it just the writing in
Let's
general?
jump on into another category, shall we? Because no, it's a perfect segue.
Yeah.
It's a perfect segue to start talking about the plot, the story arcs, and the writing. This is probably one of the things I had the most complaints about, was the pacing of the story and the story arc itself. I would say that the plot as a whole, if you were to take the big points of the plot, not that disappointing. I mean, it's standard for what the story is for Warcraft. The first invasion of Azeroth. It makes sense. I mean, everything was kind of touched upon. It all made sense. They were world building. You could tell that they're looking to make more of these movies. They're obviously going to try. And so hopefully they make enough money on this movie to make a better one next time.
Yeah.
Because I think the franchise deserves it. And I think there's a lot of really rich stories that can be told. And I do believe that, Duncan Jones could do it. But
sure we don't want to give it to Joss Whedon?
Let's give it to Joss Whedon. I mean, Sam Raimi was going to do it, and then he backed out. And
there were several.
And he backed out. And so they had big names attached to direct this thing, and just nothing worked out over the 10 years they talked about this silly film.
It's been a long time.
It has. But let's get back to the plot then, and the writing and everything like that. I would say that, it's the story itself was kind of filled with high fantasy tropes. I mean, stuff that you can pull straight from Tolkien, stuff that you can pull from Dungeons and Dragons, all that kind of stuff. It's almost stereotypical at this point. But this was made kind of in the height of all that with video game stuffs anyway. And so it doesn't really detract, I don't think, from the movie as a whole, because that's what high fantasy is. A lot of them have to follow some of these formulas.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You can't really break away from them too much. Even Game of Thrones is bound by some of the high fantasy tropes, because as you start messing with magic, you start messing with races and stuff like that, you get into the archetypal Tolkien characters.
No, absolutely. I mean, orcs, it's not a new concept.
No, not at all.
I mean...
Oh, and actually, I do want to credit them, though, because they kept this pretty much orcs and humans. Orcs versus humans. They kept this Warcraft 1.
Yeah.
That gives them so much leeway now to, if they do another film, if they do another series of films, to start releasing the new races that you end up seeing in World of Warcraft. You're going to get goblins. You're going to get trolls. You're going to get Tauren. You're going to get elves. They did deal with dwarves a little bit, and they dealt with the blood elves a little bit, which I guess were high elves at the time. They were not blood elves yet.
Right.
But obviously the night elves were sleeping at this point in lore, and so you wouldn't get them, around yet.
Right.
But this opens up the possibility then of them introducing all these new fun races and telling more stories with the interactions of all these different people.
Yeah, really the closest you get in the movie of anything that's like really wacky and out of the ordinary, other than orcs and humans, is the High Council, or whatever you want to call it, that they introduce. Is it the High Council I'm thinking of? Where shoot, what's the name of it? See, this is where knowing the lore
of the Kirin Tor.
Yeah, the Kirin Tor, you have several characters where you're like, what the heck is that thing?
That was one of the complaints I think that I could lodge against it with the lore, where they kind of strayed away from the lore, is that Dalaran should not have been a floating city yet. Dalaran would have been a regular city at this point, and Stormwind wouldn't even have been founded at this point. So the lore's a little bit off there, but that's fine. That's fine, because I can gloss over all that stuff because they still made a pretty good movie.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's one thing to make a Warcraft movie. It's another thing completely to just ignore the entire base of the World of Warcraft era that we've created, because that's what happened in World of Warcraft. Is now you have so many different parts of the story that they kind of just had to mesh together to make it such a compelling place to be in a video game. So I think they kind of had to almost go, okay, you know what, we're going to use Dalaran. Stormwind is clearly going to have to be a thing. Mm-hmm. Stormwind is too epic of a...
exactly. People recognize Stormwind. They don't recognize Lordaeron necessarily from World of Warcraft, because Lordaeron at the time of World of Warcraft is Undercity. It's destroyed. Yeah. It's overrun by those filthy undead scum.
Yeah.
Alliance forever, everybody. Just by the way. Uh, but no, that gets me into one of the points I wanted to try to make here was that whenever video game movies get adapted from video game into movie, usually the directors will take so many liberties with the storyline, with the lore, with all that stuff, because they don't really have a lot to go off of. That is, you first have to invent a story, is the first type of them. That's your Super Mario Brothers, your Double Dragon that we talked about earlier, all those Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter. These are not games with stories. And then you've got the ones where they have to reimagine them. They have to take the story that everyone kind of accepted and then go, well, no, that's not going to work for the films. And so they just try to reimagine them. And I compare this then to comic book movies, which comic books and books like we talked about, the Harry Potters, the Marvel comics, everything like that, they have so much story-rich media to draw from. They can pick the best stories that still fit within the canon, and everyone, fanboys and casual moviegoers alike, are going to be a lot, more satisfied with this stuff. And so Warcraft was one of the easiest ones to pick off because of the fact that they had tried to develop such a huge backstory, just a lore that spanned, so much. And there's so much still that I don't know about this silly game and its lore.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, but at the same time, you have the people who, let's talk about Iron Man for a minute in that sense, because Iron Man's obviously a huge comic book series way before.
Not even one of the biggest though, and they still managed to make him a hit movie franchise.
A huge hit, and they even took risks. And I'm speaking a little bit out of my wheelhouse here, but I do know that they really adapted what the Mandarin was.
Oh yeah, no, a lot of people are mad. Check it out on the internet, everybody, if you're not already there.
That's www.theinternet.com.
Yes, and Google.
And if that's not a good website, when you get there, I'm sorry, I didn't know.
Google Mandarin frustrations, because everyone just was so mad that they didn't like the twist. It was like almost an M. Night Shyamalan kind of twist, and then what you thought was something isn't, because they felt that it cheapened the character from these beloved comics. Which again, Iron Man was never one of the huge stable of comic book characters that everyone loved. Lots of people like the Hulk. They made several movies about him that did terrible. But Iron Man was never really one, but it's just that movie hit at the exact right time. Robert Downey Jr. did a phenomenal job bringing that character to life and making him kind of one of the staples of the Marvel Cinematic Universe right now.
But think about, with that character, if you did that kind of casting in a Warcraft movie where you brought these almost like Avenger level actors, okay, because a lot of all these separate movies have great actors or actresses. I guess Black Widow doesn't have her own movie, so you have great actors.
Give it time, maybe.
And they bring them all together. There's such a risk, and that's the thing from their standpoint. Does Warcraft, does Blizzard have money? Yeah. Do you go so outside of your wheelhouse and outside of your comfort zone in a movie to go, no, we're going to go with our casting, we're going blockbuster. We're going to get Mel Gibson to play.
There you go.
I don't know. I don't know why
Mel Gibson in. Nope, it's too late. You said it.
I did say it.
Let's get Mel Gibson in there to play anything in a Warcraft movie. It's just immediately a hit.
Instant hit.
Well, no, and it doesn't have to be anything like that. Because, again, it wasn't like Robert Downey Jr. was doing gangbusters before Iron Man. It's not like he was on the up and up. He was on an upswing, and they picked him up, and this was the perfect role to send him back into the limelight, make him a superstar again. And so they could have done something like that. They went with a lot of relative unknowns, and then some people that everyone would recognize as well. Yeah. But I think the biggest problem then is that, and I guess it's a twofold problem. Is that, was it that the characters were not written well enough for the actors, or was it that the actors could not bring enough out of these characters to make me care for them? Because they had a lot. That is what I will say about the movie. No spoilers. They had a lot of characters. A lot of characters in this one.
Oh yeah,
they
a lot of characters.
Duratan, they had Ogrim Doomhammer, they had Blackhand, and these are just orcs right now.
Yeah.
They had Gul'dan, and all these guys were actors, some of them relatively well known. You'd never recognize them because they're completely CGI'd. And then on the Alliance side, you had normal human number 1, regular king human number 2. All of their names are forgettable because none of these characters. I mean, you had Lothar, I guess, and actually he was part of the lore. Yep, he was. And
Very
then
important.
Lane Rin, he was a king.
Yep.
And he also was somewhat important.
Yeah.
But a lot of the humans too. I mean, just you can take them or leave them. You had to deal with the ones who could use magic just because you saw them do cool things, like Medivh and Khadgar.
Yeah.
And Khadgar, of course, from World of Warcraft fame, he's been through all of the games, I think, at this point almost.
Yeah.
Medivh shows up from time to time to usually ruin things and mess things up and try to fix things and wreck them again. That's kind of his deal, his MO. But these characters, they included so many of them and wanted to give so many people so much screen time, they found a hard time of balancing it, I thought, personally. Because then it leads back into that pacing question, the pacing question of the plot, where they were trying to shoehorn so many of these characters' storylines into this movie that it's just, they forced it. There was one scene in particular that I was so incredibly disappointed with, because all it was your typical campfire scene where everyone's sitting around telling stories so that everyone gets all of that exposition and backstory of all the characters. And it's just forced. It wasn't organic. It took you completely out of the whole plot line. It was just like, oh, well, now here's a chance for us to talk about my backstory. And I liken that scene a lot to, and Milanosh would know what I'm talking about, because I complain about this all the time. My shirt kind of shows Star Trek here. I'm a big Next Generation fan. And Tasha Yar disappointed me so much throughout all of the seasons, because all she would ever talk about is rape gangs on her home planet when she was a kid, because the writers would use that then as their platform for talking about social, issues, cultural issues. If there was something that they were trying to make sure they drove the point home, they'd bring Tasha Yar in seasons 1 and 2 and talk about rape gangs.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, that's it's a tired story at this point.
That's unfortunate.
I think I complained about it as well in the Old Republic, wasn't it? That
yes.
Your character that you picked was like part, I can't even remember the race or whatever. He was
part
a
something
Sith. I don't remember. And just he kept complaining about, we used to be slaves. And it's like, okay, yeah, all right, just leave it alone, buddy. You're talking about it too much. But it's that kind of thing where they force this exposition on you because they don't want anyone to miss the fact that these characters have a history. They've got a backstory. And let me tell you about mine. It's a sad one. And you feel something. And then another character's got to also be like, which brings me to my next point, which is my history, which also is a sad one. We all feel the things that we should feel. And we're well-developed characters. Don't worry, audience. We are. You just take our word for it while we're talking to you right now about this story from my childhood. Really, I'm sorry. I don't normally do this. I'm getting choked up.
So you have. Overall, I just feel like the movie was just okay because they tried to pack too much in.
They did.
Just too much.
They did.
That was, I don't know. I wouldn't say my phone's liking to talk to me.
Opening YouTube.
It wants me. My phone is a critic now. It's saying opening YouTube.
It's going to send you to the video. Yeah, all right, listen, Millie, educate yourself.
You clearly need to understand what's going on right now. Even my phone. No, I think it would be tough for me to say for someone who has any interest in Warcraft to not see it.
That's true, and that's the biggest thing too, is that if you liked the games, if you liked the lore, it's not a bad movie to go see. It just wasn't, as the critics always are quick to point out, it wasn't cinematic genius. It's not something that's going to win a whole bunch of awards. It might win some technical awards, but I don't even know if it'll do that. The CGI was good. I don't know if the CGI was so good that everyone's going to overlook all the other issues with the film and say, oh, now let's nominate this thing for an award. I'm not sure if it takes anything, but if you enjoy the genre, why not support the movie? Yeah.
No. I don't know. I think there's so much they could have done different.
Yeah. And I honestly believe, I guess this will be probably one of my last points about the whole thing, is that they should not have started with this story as the first one. They shouldn't have tried to go as far back to the beginning as they can with the interaction of orcs versus humans. They should have probably started with a story further on down the line, hinted at the fact that there's a rich backstory, and then done a prequel movie. It would have been perfect. They could have done this movie 3 movies in and been like, now you can see how it all began. You get the storylines that hook people first, which,
Right.
I mean, obviously, Arthas and the Frozen Throne, the Lich King, Wrath of the Lich King would
Wrath
be just...
of the Lich King
that would be a perfect storyline to run that first one, and then you got a sequel, too, within Wrath of the Lich King. You got the Frozen Throne one, and then you've got the Wrath of the Lich King that could easily be, you know, a 2-part film if you wanted to keep people in the most interesting parts of Warcraft's lore.
Absolutely.
And then all the while start hinting at all this backstory, start hinting at all this stuff, and then you can release prequels. You can release the first war, the second war. You can release all the fun, cool things that you could do as other additions into the universe.
So what you're saying basically is take more of a Star Wars approach where he said, okay, clearly 1, 2, and 3 are important, but we're not going to do very well if we release those first.
It's true. I mean, and in his mind, though, from what I remember, George Lucas actually was just going to make the one movie. Yeah. And then as he started thinking about it, because they approached him to make a sequel, he was like, okay, well, this wasn't the start, by the way. This is episode 4. It gives you an idea, like, there's stuff that happened before this. There's stuff that's going to happen after this.
Now, to be fair, we are comparing George Lucas, as a writer as well as a...
Oh, boy. Let's not compare him as a writer too much.
I'm just saying, you know,
because he helped write the first 3 episodes as well.
Yeah, so I don't want to go into that part of it. What I'm trying to make sure we understand is that we're just talking about the type of movie, the decision to make it as episode 4 versus starting with episode 1.
And I guess that would be us kind of retroactively looking at Star Wars canon as a whole and saying, look at the whole universe they ended up creating. And they started kind of in the middle. And then they wrote some backstory. They wrote some forward story. This one already has lore set up. And it's not bad lore. It might take a little bit of tweaking to kind of get it all to fit the cinema. But they could have easily started somewhere more towards the middle, somewhere later in the game, when they've got the more interesting storylines that don't take a lot of setup to get the people engaged in the universe. Because right when you log into World of Warcraft, are you immediately bombarded with all of the history of everyone that you ever meet? No, you explore, you learn it all through the interactions of the stories that are being told. I guess I'll hop off my soapbox now, because that was, I guess, my closing thought on the movie. Was it good? It was all right. It was all right.
So I guess to that end, if someone said, hey, I'm thinking about seeing the Warcraft movie, what would you say? Okay, in less than a minute.
In less than a minute.
What would you say?
I'm going to try to sum it up as short as I can. Okay, so someone says to me, hey, I'm going to go check out that Warcraft movie. I'll say, hey, it's your life. I'll leave it like that. Hey, whatever you want to do.
What?
Because, no, I don't think it... I don't know if I'd recommend it to everybody. Yeah. But for some of the people that I know that are gamers... some of the people who know Warcraft, I'd say, yeah, no, go check it out. Yeah. Like, how much are the ticket prices? Is it like a $13 IMAX? I don't know if I'd do that, but like matinee, $4.50. If you can get it down that low, go see it, check it out.
Now, I will say,
you don't have a job.
I will say, I mean, to that point, I probably still will. I'm gonna buy the movie.
We'll probably
for no other reason than I would like to see the extras they put in there and what that adds to the story, because I just feel like this is one of those situations where they needed more, they just couldn't put it in, and there's going to be plenty of extras, I think.
Do you think there's going to be a director's cut, or was this movie Duncan Jones's vision?
Surely they had to have more. That's all I know. Will there be a director's cut? I don't know, but I just feel like there had to be more than what he could put out there.
Fair enough. But with it being so heavily CGI'd, is that even going to end up in a DVD? I mean, like, did they get all the CGI finished and then go, no, we're cutting that scene for time. We're cutting that scene.
Good question.
I mean, do we get to see a whole bunch of actors
Probably
wearing their little mocap mocap suits, and then that's going to be what we see? And
now that'd be funny.
We just enjoy that? I don't know.
So to that end, as far as talking about logging into World of Warcraft, and
you're going to do that now, huh? You're going to go log into World of Warcraft?
Yeah, right now.
All right, well, I guess I'll just wait here while you're logging in.
But to that end, as far as logging into video games and just being bombarded, I guess, it's a good spot for us to transition into the, if you're listening to this on the podcast, probably as of right now, which would be Thursday.
Would be the start?
Would be the start of... the inevitable and daunting, yet glorious.
Steam Summer Sale.
The Steam Summer Sale. It is upon us again. And
has it been that long? Man.
And holy cow. What is interesting to me is the idea that it's so well known. The Steam Summer Sale, first of all, is so well known that you have memes dedicated to it.
Yep.
And I wish we could just spend some time right now looking at all of them.
I think one of my favorites is, you know, the Ned Stark winter is coming. You got the Steam Summer Sale is coming, that kind of stuff. Yeah, no.
Yeah, but it brings up a good point. First of all, I want to start by saying hats off to these guys. I mean, because honestly, without Steam, I mean, Steam has done so much as a platform.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? I mean, the fact that they went from creating some games, some good games.
Yeah, Valve did a good job.
Not bad games. Yeah, absolutely. I would agree. They did really good with their games. They went from that to going, okay, now we're going to create a platform. And I'm sure at first the whole idea was we're going to create a platform for digital rights.
Yeah, for our games. Yep. And that's kind of what it started out as. Yeah. And then you were allowed to launch other games on their platform. And then they realized, wow, a lot of people are doing this. They're picking up other third-party games, and they allowed them to just launch the EXE through it. And they're like, well, what if we had a little bit of control here? What if we could add more games to the library? And so that's when, I think at about the time the Portal kind of came about, they were really pushing their own platform at that point. It had developed into something where they started adding a store, a very rudimentary store, but a store nonetheless. And all of a sudden, you've got a whole bunch of developers starting to jump on board because this was picking up steam. It wasn't slowing down.
Steam.
That's right. It was picking up steam.
Yeah, and so that was weird. So the summer sale is coming, and of course this is going to be the second or third time, not the second or third year, but the second or third time they've had a sale where you're going to be able to have a refund policy.
Sure.
Which, as we can remember, back to the days of the daily flash sales, and then some days the prices would be less than the day before, and you're like, oh, you've got to be kidding me.
Yep, you see something go on sale, you're like, perfect, 40% off, that's what I'm looking for, and then a flash sale comes up around for 12 hours, and they're like, hey, it's actually 60% off. And you go,
And you kind of, you honestly, you feel burned, but at the same time, at least for me, Steam has had this like grasp over me where it's like, you know what, I'm not mad at you.
I forgive you, Gabe. I forgive you, Valve.
I love you.
Steam.
I love you, Steam.
'Cause you'll be in my heart. Yeah.
There's our theme.
Yeah. That's right. Always.
But okay, so that brings up a good point. Like, you know, I've had talks on my stream about this where it's like, oh man, the Steam Summer Sale is coming. I am not prepared. I don't have enough money.
That's right. I've only got $200 on my bank account. That's only going to get me like 14 games. You know, and it's all gone.
Both of us respectively have, I know, we're not going to go into exact numbers because it doesn't matter, but we both have over 300 games.
415, thank you very much. Okay. We're not going to go into exact numbers, but I have a lot. More than Millie.
But the point is
a lot
this.
more than Millie.
Yeah, a lot more than me. But
okay,
the point is this: I'm gonna catch up.
It's not a competition. I'm winning. It's not a competition.
We still run to this. Like, I know that there are games that I am going to buy.
Mm-hmm.
That I think when I buy them, I think, yeah, I want to play this, and then the moment they enter into my library, I go, I probably won't play this.
I'm probably not going to play this, maybe ever, but definitely not for a while.
But it was 70% off.
That's true. Well, and I think the sales grab you more than they grab me these days.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I look forward to the summer sale, the winter sale, and stuff like that for the events that surround it. I like the card game that they introduced, the trading cards. If you guys recall, 2 years ago or whatever it was, they first introduced these brand new thing, and I honestly kind of got into it. You were able to collect, you were able to trade, you were able to sell for actual, real, fake Steam money. Which, if I'm buying the video games anyways, might as well use their own fake currency. Can't redeem it for real cash unless you use third-party sites like a lot of scammers did, which kind of ruined the whole market, by the way. But early on, It was a lot of fun. It felt like I was playing the stock market simulator, going to the
Yep.
Steam community market, and I was able to turn a tidy profit.
So yeah, I never really got into the whole like the card game thing because I mean to me it seemed more like a gimmick, where it was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make like a penny, that's great, and all you're wanting me to do is buy more games. You want to get me stuck on the idea of achievements. That's how I felt.
That's absolutely what it was. That's
Yeah.
why you had badges. What do badges do for you?
Nothing.
Nothing other than they help you get more badges. Oh, okay. Well, okay. So what do badges do? No, they help you get more badges. Okay, but what is the benefit? Well, if you get a badge, you could possibly get more badges sometime. So it's a system that exists to feed the system.
So let's since I didn't really go into it, let's go into a little more detail then about how these cards worked and maybe how they work now if we have any information as far as.
Oh, honestly, I don't know if they've changed anything. It's been a little bit of time since I've looked at it in particular.
Yeah.
But I can tell you this much, that the reason I got into it was because I think even back when it started, I owned more than 200 games, and of those games, I had a list of like 30 games that immediately came out with trading cards. And I was like, well, all you have to do to get these trading cards through the Steam platform is own the game on Steam and play the game. And I was like, well, I'm playing the games anyway, might as well get it. And so as you spend more time in the game at random intervals, they will give you one of however many random drops, and then at that point you're eligible for getting booster packs, which the ability to get booster packs is dependent upon how high your level is, which is dependent upon the number of badges you have, which is dependent upon the number of cards you have collected. So they tried to make it to where, you basically would have to pay money or, do something, or do what I did and just play the market for a while in order to get any of these things going. And I got kind of hooked from it on the very first time they introduced them, and the very first sale that came around. I got hooked because I was able to sell these things, and no, it wasn't for a penny. I sold these things for like 15 cents. I was making profits. That I then invested back into my badge getting abilities. And here I am now sitting on, 140 cards in my inventory. Why? I don't know. I'm not going to do anything with them anymore. I think it's all kind of waned at this point.
So how many Steam summer sales or winter sales or special events would you say that you participated in? Like where you actually did the cards, like actively played the cards?
I missed the last winter sale, and I don't know if they did much with cards on that one. I know for a fact for the last 2 years, then they had a summer sale, a winter sale, a summer sale, and I think another winter sale that I did.
Spring sale at one point.
And the spring sale didn't have much with cards, but the summer sales have always been good, and I think they had a total of 3 at this point. I'll have to look that up. Fact check me, someone, or don't. And so there were, I believe, about 3, and so I've probably done about 5 of them.
So you've done probably about 5.
That's my guess.
Now, how much money would you say you made?
How much money have I made?
How much money have you made on Steam cards?
All right.
So no total actual money, right? You didn't.
Right. Yeah. No. It's all Steam dollars.
Okay.
How much money have I netted? Meaning, you subtract what I spent back into the system. Or how much have I made gross?
How much have you made gross? Let's go with
gross
that.
is actually a much higher number, but net, 36 cents. I have netted 36 cents because all of the money I got went right back into buying more cards. I think I bought 1 DLC with all the money I'd made because at one point I was rocking $50-something, and that was after probably the second summer sale. Is that I had a lot of money, and so then I'm like, well, hold on, let's get more of these cards, and then they had to change it because I was doing it legitimately, but there were a lot of, like I said, a lot of scammers, a lot of Russian scammers came in, flooded the market with a whole bunch of really cheap cards because they were looking to just kind of get there, buy the, that changed Humble Bundle too, because Humble Bundle was getting overrun with all these guys who wanted to spend 1 cent on these games to get Steam keys so they could just sell these games, they could sell the cards, they could do all this kind of stuff, and it really ruined the market. But I think Steam did a pretty good job of adapting to that, and that now you can use cards for other things than just making badges. You can create gems, and what do the gems do? You can sell those gems on the market, or you can take those gems and make trading card packs that you can then use to have more trading card. Wait, nope, still a system that it's still an inherent system, but that's okay because I'll have to get back into it for the summer sale because I got a feeling they're probably going to do more fun games, and it's not going to be the sales, it's not going to be the deep discounts that are going to get me. It's going to be me logging into the Steam platform every day and looking at the market and playing whatever the games they've got.
Yeah, for me, it's gonna be the games.
Oh, fair enough.
Quite honestly, it's
You're one of those dork video game players.
yeah.
Lame.
Turns out I like to play video games.
Not me. Video games are for kids.
Oh yeah. We don't play video games around here
Not at all.
ever.
Nope.
So let's talk about some other dorky news. There's this pretty cool announcement I saw today.
Mm-hmm.
That actually talked about a movie that's coming out based on something that at least I adored in my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you feel about this.
I think you do.
But
I think you know.
Here's let me just make sure we get a good shot of this before we. That looks pretty good. There we go. Power Rangers movie.
Go Power Rangers!
So I'll be completely honest with you guys in saying I saw that. I think his name is Bryan Cranston. Is that his name? That sounds right. He's been announced as having an active role in the new Power Rangers movie, and I was like, oh my goodness, this movie is now a blockbuster.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Before I was like, it's probably not gonna be that good. Bryan Cranston's involved. Say his name.
What's so you know Bryan Cranston? You can visualize his face.
Zordon.
Yeah. That's
he's gonna be
him.
Zordon. He'd have to be.
He is gonna be Zordon, and
it's
be always
Bulk or Scully. No, he's gonna be Zordon.
It's always interesting to think though what they're going to do with Zordon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you could make it really polished and holographic and look really cool, but there needs to be like such care with that because of what it was in our childhood. You know, you don't want to make it, to me, you don't want to make it super polished.
I was gonna say he's basically Master Control Program from Tron.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically what he is, just a head in a jar.
Yeah.
Where Master Control Program was just a big old floating face, just spinning around.
But yeah. But I think it's gonna be great. I really look forward to seeing how they do his character, or how he does the character. I guess I should say. I
have major hesitations about this film, and it's for all the right reasons. Let's look at all of the intellectual property, all the IPs from everyone's childhood.
Okay.
And the big old blockbuster movies that have been made off of them.
Sure.
And let's talk about the ones that have succeeded and the ones that have failed.
Okay.
We'll start with the ones that have failed. In my mind, I mean, they've been huge blockbusters. A lot of people liked them, by the way. Transformers was a huge disappointment to me. I mean, just bad, and then they kept making more bad movies.
Okay, but
and then they regretted having certain bad actors in these bad movies and decided, we'll try it with a new cast. And it was another bad movie. A lot of bad movies about Transformers, and I loved the Transformers.
Now but they took some creative liberties with Transformers.
Oh, and there's no way they'd do that with Power Rangers.
Well,
they wouldn't take any creative liberties to try to change the legend that is the Power Rangers.
I guess maybe I just remember the last Power Rangers movie. Obviously, it's been a while ago, but I remember the last Power Rangers movie.
Which one? Which one did you see? I gotta know.
Okay, hold on.
Was it Power Rangers the movie? Was it the big blockbuster?
It was Power Rangers
or
the movie.
Was it the sequel?
Now I watched both of them.
Power Rangers Turbo. Was it?
It would have been Turbo was the last one I saw. I think.
Boy, yeah, that was.
We're gonna ignore that one.
That was something.
But there's been enough time to where I have high hopes for it. I hope to enjoy this one.
I'm looking forward to seeing some kaiju. Seeing some Jaegers fighting kaiju. Big old Mechazordons.
I think it'll be fun.
Megazords.
And just as a teaser, I also found, and there's some weird speculation about this, which I want to unpack a little bit, but I'm not going to go into a lot of detail because, one, I don't want to give people a lot of credit.
Nor do we even know, I guess, necessarily.
Yeah, but so there's a character that has been released. It's Rita Repulsa.
Mm-hmm.
Pictures of Rita Repulsa are now out there. Here's the thing. People are saying because of the fact that she is green.
Sure.
And that she has gold accessories
Okay.
that she's somehow going to be the Green Ranger.
Well, you know, it was Rita Repulsa's doing that
Yeah.
the Green Ranger came about in the first place. Maybe that's what this is this movie is about the rise of the Green Ranger. It's going to be a bad guy, and then it's going to be like a
Yeah, oh yeah.
good guy.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think...
Or she's Poison Ivy. She looks more like Poison Ivy right now.
She does, actually, yeah. The rope around the neck thing, yeah, I mean,
I miss the hair. The hair of actual Rita Repulsa.
Yeah. And the cone bra.
Yeah, no, that was pretty nice.
That's pretty cool. But no, you're not going to get that.
Nope.
So, okay, so the problem we have here is, one, what the heck? Why would they say, hey, this is Rita Repulsa? Oh, by the way...
Oh, also the Green
Ranger. No, that doesn't work. That doesn't work for me. If they do that, I'm walking out.
You're walking out? You're not walking out.
I'm walking out.
You're going to be sitting there watching it going, I'm actually really into this. I'm the Green Ranger. Nope.
Okay,
nope.
Here's the thing.
Nope.
Here's what's going to happen. If I watch this movie and they somehow say, yep, Rita Repulsa is a Green Ranger, I will record myself walking out of the theater. I'm not kidding.
Sir, that's illegal. You can't use recording devices in
You're
the theater.
correct. I will take
I'm going to have
risk,
to escort you out of the building.
and I will be happy to, at that moment, leave the building.
It's going to be a video of Millie just going, nope, nope, I told you,
Nope.
I told you, nope.
I told you what I'd do. That's what it's going to be. But if they do a story about the Green Ranger, I mean that would be absolutely phenomenal. Anyways,
one of the best
yeah.
story arcs of the early seasons.
Green Ranger was freaking amazing.
Yeah.
So I would encourage them to put the Green
that.
Ranger in there.
Encourage
Absolutely.
them to pursue that.
Absolutely. But the fact that they would say Rita Repulsa, she's wearing green,
must be Green
Ranger.
Boom, we got it.
It's like
The
saying
internet's ablaze.
It's like saying, check out this picture of a Smurf. Oh my goodness, it's the Blue Ranger.
I knew it. I knew the Smurfs were going to be in Power Rangers. Confirmed.
Friggin' Smurfs.
Confirmed.
Okay. So let's talk about some other things from our lowly childhood. Good transition here.
I was going to say, what specifically would you like to talk about?
Well, we
Cabbage
have
Patch Kids?
No, not Cabbage Patch Kids.
You want to talk about Pogs?
We in our last podcast, Pants Money, for all those of you who haven't listened to it. I obviously am clearly a big proponent of Microsoft and Xbox in general. Mostly because I have an Xbox and I kind of set most of the items on the agenda last time. Got a little heat for that, I'd say.
Yeah, you know you're a fanboy and it really hurts my feelings.
Yeah.
But
So
you're fine. You're fine.
So something happened after that day. Whenever I actually did watch the E3 Sony announcement.
Oh well, good.
PlayStation announcement, I guess.
And
I
you
did.
didn't catch on fire.
No,
you know?
no.
Everything was fine.
And something came out of it that I think is just absolutely beautiful. And I think we need to watch together right now. This is a very small snippet, but I think you guys, how could you not enjoy Batman Arkham VR?
Yeah, no, I'd play that.
So, coming October 2016, which is amazing. It's a VR exclusively to PlayStation VR on October 6th, 2016. Now, there's a couple things to think about here. Okay? First of all, PlayStation exclusive. Amazing PlayStation exclusive. Who doesn't want to be Batman?
Communists? I don't know. I'm not sure if they exist out there. Someone who doesn't want to be Batman.
Okay, so I mean, you're putting on a headset, right? A VR headset, and at the same time, it's the idea of you putting on a mask. Mm-hmm. So it really works.
Wear the cowl. It just said hashtag wear the cowl.
Wear the cowl. So it works really well together. I think it's one of the best ideas that you could do so well with this, but at the same time, oh man, you could crash and burn.
Oh, sure. Well, the one thing you definitely don't want to do is you don't want to give everybody control to actually solve the mysteries that Batman solves, solve the crimes and everything, because I found that with the Arkham games,
Yeah.
more often than not, all of a sudden, Batman would say, "Oh, see, I knew this was coming," and I'm going, how did you piece that together? Well, obviously because this was the
master
clue and all of
detective.
the trails and all that, and I'm like, I knew that too. I wanted to let him come. I wanted to let him get to the solution. I didn't want to.
Yeah.
I didn't want to brag or anything.
Let the character do the
Yeah,
work.
no, yeah. I was gonna be there. I was right there,
Yeah.
right with you, Bruce, while you were figuring it all out. And so you don't want to leave people, reliable to actually solve anything because no one's gonna be able to be Batman. But if you just want to pretend to be Batman and have Batman pick up where you're kind of slacking,
Yeah.
perfect.
Now, of course, they had this VR experience on the floor of E3 for people to actually check out. Obviously, I wasn't there.
Obviously,
Not sad about that at all. Okay, yes, I am. But so far, there's been some positive feedback about it.
oh, well, there you go.
Some talk about the fact that you have a utility belt. In the VR, you've got a utility belt. You're actually kind of working through a crime scene. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about it, but so it has a lot of great potential. Past the fact that it's Batman and we all love Batman and
Everyone
it's
loves
VR.
Batman.
Past that fact, they tell you when it's available. Okay, and I know it's like, okay, great, but that tells me PlayStation is going to have their VR done
By October
of 2016, and Project Scorpio is not going to be done until holiday
right?
of 2017.
Well, now there are a lot of holidays in 2017.
That's
they could
true.
be talking about New Year's Day.
New Year's Day, 2017.
2017. That's holiday.
It is holiday. I doubt that.
That's not what they mean when they say
No.
holiday. No, it's not very likely.
But there's a huge gap.
Maybe Flag Day.
A huge gap. And you know what? Honestly, this could play. It could play either way. Quite honestly, PlayStation could just take off with this whole VR thing, and grab a huge market share away from Xbox, and that. Or on the other hand, Xbox could go, yeah, you totally fumbled, and
Right.
we waited long enough to.
You bungled the release,
Yeah.
and let's go ahead and come out and be the saviors for VR.
Yeah. So there's that, but I think where Microsoft needs to respond to the Batman thing, because this is a PlayStation exclusive. Now, I mean, honestly, this tempts me to buy a PlayStation, but I don't know if I'm going to buy a PlayStation and a VR just for a game that's
Just to be Batman?
Yeah, just to be Batman.
That sounds dumb. Or does it sound the best ever?
That you make a good point, but I think Xbox needs to respond with Iron Man. I think Iron Man would make an amazing.
You think Iron Man would beat Batman in a fight? That's what I'm hearing right now. All right, let's talk about this real quick. I think you're out of your element, buddy. Iron Man doesn't beat Batman in a fight. Both of them rich millionaire playboys.
Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
you bet. One of them built a suit of armor. Oh, that's neat. One of them is an amazing karate master and has the accuracy of, I don't know, a ninja bullseye shooter.
Okay. Well, yes.
These are
going with
words.
Ninja bullseye shooter.
These are words that
We
people
found
use.
I think we found our episode name
A
again.
ninja bullseye shooter.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I mean, Iron Man would be all like, "Oh, repulsor beam," and Batman would be like, "Sorry, I disabled your repulsor beam. Your suit doesn't work anymore." And Iron Man would be like, "Jarvis, no Jarvis,
No Jarvis.
mm-mm."
So why
Disabled.
does but why does Batman immediately
I'll
have
tell
the
you
upper
because
hand?
then Iron Man's gonna be like, "Okay, well, I'll just use my armor here and I'll punch you." Repellent, armor repellent. He'll spray it all over himself. Batman. Well, you've seen the TV show.
Oh yes, of course.
And so he always
Shark
had, the
repellent,
Batman had
armor-
he had
armor
all
rep-
sorts
yep.
of repellent. He
Yep.
would have armor repellent on his armor, you see, which sounds like a contradiction. No, it makes it
No.
stronger.
Okay.
And so Iron Man he'd have no recourse. He couldn't do anything.
Well, the question is though, how well can Iron Man move in his armor when it's been disabled?
and it'll all be turned off. I can guarantee that much.
Yeah.
Yep. Batman won't come into a fight without knowing that this fight was gonna happen.
Yeah.
And have all contingencies planned.
Absolutely, because he's a great detective.
He's the master.
He's
detective.
the great mouse detective.
He's the great mouse detective. He's also a mouseketeer. He doesn't really flaunt that one too much.
Well, it is a Warner Brothers kind of game, so.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean you've got that. No, I just think I think the idea of Iron Man, like once again, especially with the Iron Man, like with the recent movies, you've got the heads up display inside the mask. You've got the idea of putting on more so, in my opinion, almost a VR type of mask. I mean, because it's supposed to encapsulate your entire head at that point. So you would have the tactile feel almost even more so than Batman mask.
I mean, that's fair.
So I think it'd be a really cool game, and the fact that with Iron Man, what does he do with his hands? It sounds weird.
What does he do with his hands?
We're
not gonna get into that.
He doesn't like pick up things and throw them, which will be a challenge for a Batman type of experience in VR. No, he opens his palm and he shoots things.
He lifts up cars.
But he doesn't need
He flies with them.
He doesn't need to pick things up very gently with his fingers.
I remember Surgeon Simulator just
Yep. So you're gonna have that in VR, right? I clearly think you'll have a problem with that in VR. So,
all right. So Batman doesn't get to pick things up. He'll just throw a batarang.
Right.
See a problem? Throw a batarang.
Which is possible.
Door won't open? Throw a batarang. Bad guy coming at you? Throw a batarang. The hostage being taken? Throw a batarang.
Or does Microsoft go completely against that and just go with you're a Spartan?
I don't know. That's a good question.
That's actually a really good idea too. If they don't do,
you got all the good ideas. You should work for Microsoft.
I should work. I should. Microsoft, you should hire
tryout
me.
Video.
By the way, these are my ideas.
This is his tryout video.
These are my ideas.
Patent pending.
Patent pending. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Call me, Microsoft. But
we'll wait. Actually, no, we'll wait right now for the call.
Right now, we're waiting.
We're gonna wait. They're watching the stream. You know they are.
Yeah, of course they are. They heard Microsoft. They know I'm a fanboy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that Millie.
Yeah.
He loves Microsoft. We should have him work for us. But if only he had some good ideas he'd pitch. What? Iron Man? How did he... What? Oh, Spartans?
We never thought of a Halo VR. That's so original.
No one ever would have thought of something like this. Let's get that Milanosh in here. Give him a salary.
So you've got some cool VR news coming out of Sony. I'm pretty impressed with the fact unless they release this new Neo beforehand, I mean that's a pretty tight window to release the Neo as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's not going to be as powerful, which is understandable if this is the case. If it's going to be released this year by October, it's completely understandable that the Sony 4K is not, Neo is not going to be as powerful as what Scorpio is supposed to be.
I think that's a fair statement.
Yeah.
Does it have to be?
What's the price point?
Does it have to be?
Does it come with the VR headset? Is it going to cost me $2,000?
Hopefully.
Where am I going to get my $2,000 to buy this from?
Well, you can always start working a street corner.
That's there's a donation button.
If anyone wanted to donate $2,000.
If you guys would like to see PlayStation VR on my stream before you buy yourself one, I'll review it for you and then tell you to go buy one. Or not.
He's also applying for a job at Sony.
Yeah.
I will tell everybody to go buy a PlayStation now.
Sony, just go buy one.
Please hire me.
And then I guess a good transition from there was a game series that I had absolutely no interest in at all, or have ever had interest in.
What a great segue.
Well, and here's why. Because I'm pretty sure originally this was a PlayStation-only game, and it might still end up being.
I was going to say it probably will be.
But the trailer for this game, now it's a long trailer. We're not going to just sit and listen to the whole thing, but I will play it. For those of you who are listening to the podcast, just know you can go watch this on YouTube. I'll probably get you a link over on my website to actually go see it.
There you go.
But this is a trailer for God of War. And as long as I grab the right one.
Here's hoping.
Here's hoping. Boy, I'll tell you guys, this game grabbed my attention because it doesn't seem like it's anything like previous God of War games at all. Like, they're completely taking this in a new direction. Whenever I heard that there was going to be a God of War announcement, honestly, I was like, yeah, I don't really care.
Wow, this does not interest me, he says.
It's just boring. It was the whole idea of it was boring because you have what's his name, Kratos, Crafty, I don't know.
Kraft mac and cheese.
Kraft,
we're also looking for a job if you'd like that.
Anybody, we need sponsors.
That's right.
It's the cheesiest. See, they're completely going a separate way. Now, this might just be a cinematic we're watching right now, but here's the cool part.
Wow.
This is what makes it cool to me is you have now made this game into more of a, from what we're seeing right now, this is actual gameplay. It's more like a Skyrim type feel.
It definitely is.
Yeah. I would be interested in playing this game right here.
I think it's still going to be very God of War. I don't think they're going to get too far away from that. They'll probably improve on it. They've had plenty of time.
Yep.
Look out.
That's a huge animal.
Or keep running after it, I guess.
So, we could probably skip forward to some of the cooler scenes of the gameplay. I mean, this whole segment was over 9 minutes long of them showing this. What really impressed me was the way they transitioned really well without bringing you outside of the experience. Of course, you can do this on PS4. They transitioned so well between the cinematic scenes straight to just playing the character. Mm-hmm. And it felt really, I mean, just watching it, it felt really natural. So, where I'm going at with this is, one, if you haven't seen the trailer, watch the trailer. If like me, you've been a person who's just like, you know what, I have no interest in God of War, I would recommend checking. At this point, I would recommend checking it out. I wanna move forward here a little bit to one of the scenes. Here we go, where he's fighting a rather large boss. Okay, we'll go right here. Cinematic scene.
Look out! Punched him in the mouth, by the way.
Yep. Straight into boss fight. Okay. Now, of course, you've got your typical hack and slash, and whoever's playing is doing an absolute terrible job of getting.
But they just experienced it for the first time, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. But they do a really good job of storytelling also during it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even have a PlayStation, and there's 2 games now that E3 alone said, hey, to me, say, you win. You win my vote for something I want. So it may not be like revolutionary game mechanics. It may not be anything out of the ordinary. Like, they're not doing anything that's like, hey, that's new.
Yeah.
But they've reinvented God of War as a series.
Yep.
And that's what I like. But that's about all that I have. I mean, this is... I'm going to let you guys watch this. I'm not going to rant on this for the next 9 minutes. But, just amazing quality.
Nah, I gotta do a full disclosure type deal right now. I own the first 3 God of War games. I've never played them. Ever.
See?
I own them.
Yeah.
They were a gift. Someone said, you have to play these. I said, I agree. I really need to play these. And then I didn't. Oh, come on, kid.
He just shot his dad.
Pull your head out, man.
He just shot his dad, for the record.
Ow.
Spoiler alert, he shoots his dad.
Yeah.
So, anyways, a couple games on your radar. If you have a PlayStation, just consider these. One, who knows where the VR thing's going to go, but Batman VR, if I'm going to take a risk on VR, I'm going to take it on Batman.
Oh, of course. Always bet on Batman.
And God of War, just looks spectacular for the series. So, yeah, absolutely. Those two games, keep them on your radar as just something to look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
I actually don't even remember what the release date is, and I don't know if that they actually tell us at the end of the video even. Probably not, but we'll find out here real quick. Otherwise, maybe it's just another link we can put in, having a little note of when it actually comes out.
If they know.
Yeah. So we actually covered quite a bit tonight. I'm pretty happy, pretty pleased with. We got Warcraft movie.
Mm-hmm. Steam summer sale.
Maybe go see the Warcraft movie.
It's your life.
Spend most of your money on the Steam summer sale.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe play the card game.
Definitely.
Power Rangers. All of our childhood favorites. We got Power Rangers and Batman.
Boom.
Right? Those are all of our power.
That's all I need.
Yeah. And of course, you have God of War and Batman, of course, on our PlayStation system that is my absolute favorite system.
Superior
ever.
To all others. No.
Yeah.
PC Master Race. It's always going to be that way. PlayStation's great. Microsoft's great. PC wins every time.
Absolutely. So, all that aside, this is the point where we come up with our ending slogo.
Our slogo.
It's like a logo, except you can't see it. So it's a
slogo.
I was going for Logan slogan.
Logan, you're Logan Slogo. We're on it.
I'm Logan
it's
slogan.
Late. It's late.
It is late. Well, guys, thank you for being here. Very much appreciate you all. Don't forget, check us out on the website, as well as you can hear this on iTunes now, or Google Play Music. Just search for The Mill, and you will find us there. You can watch us on YouTube, Milanosh the Gamer. That'll be the website or the search you will do on YouTube, or just head on over to www.milanosh.com. Find us there.
For all things Milanosh.
For all things Milanosh. But in the meantime, this is The Mill. I am Milanosh.
And I am Schneebs.
And we're making the grind easier.
I don't know if I...
One day, get your grind on.
Grind on. I think I can possibly get behind that one tonight.
It's
grind on, everybody.
We'll leave you with that.
Grind on. I don't know how I feel about it.
Well, we don't have to feel good about it.
Fair enough.